All right. From the Tips listeners, we have a special guest this week, Matt Considine from NewClub Golf. I am very intrigued to hear about your business. We've got the pleasure to cross paths at Western AM Media Day at the Glenview Club. I think he played a little bit better than me. I think I was struggling that day, but it was fun to run into him
We're
then
we're both
and
having equal
reconnect
amounts of
now.
fun, though, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yeah,
that was a
and
great round.
yeah, I was able to take some photos too, and that was always fun. So, welcome, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. Good to be on the pod, fellow podcast host.
Yeah,
I'm not on this side very often. I'm usually on your side, so
yeah,
I hopefully can handle it.
hmm yeah. I haven't had any true podcast minds join me as a guest either, so it feels like we're both right in our element
Yeah,
for this one.
yeah. I'm glad you left great minds out of there. I'm definitely just a mind in the podcast game, but
Yeah, we're just
it's fun to
we're just
dive in on the game of golf.
we're just rolling along as simple minds, I guess. in the
Hmm.
game of golf. But how I like to start all these episodes out is to kind of everyone has the base of loving golf. So I want to know why do you love golf? How did you get into
I now I remember listening to some of your other pods that you do start every pod with that. You know
it?
what that reminds me of is the movie Almost Famous. Have you seen it?
I have
Where
not,
where he
unfortunately.
he whatever the character is asking the big
Hmm
rock star, and he keeps that was always his opener. Like, what do you love about music? So he says, to begin with, everything, and that's at the end of the movie. So I actually feel the same about golf. Is um, the layers that you can go into with the game. And I've had portions of my golf life. I've played as long as I can remember, so I was one of those kids, a total range rat. I've had portions of my life where I was highly competitive, and that was my focus, is trying to shoot the low scores and win titles and win tournaments. And I've had parts of my golf career where I cared none about that, and I just wanted to get outside, and I just wanted to share some laughs with friends or have a beer. Or I've had times where I was a total gearhead, and I went down the rabbit holes of improving my equipment. And then I've had times where I was into course architecture and course history. And so it kind of now is, I like to say, it's been a more well-rounded experience for me with the game of golf. It's kind of touching on everything, especially being a part of the golf industry now and working in the business. I look at it from a totally new lens, not just a player, an avid golfer, but also someone whose livelihood is stemming from the industry and trying to give back to it in a way, and really coming at it from that point of gratitude and appreciation for the people that even make it possible. So yeah, it's cliche to say, but it's kind of everything I love about the game.
hmm And with that well-rounded outlook, I think it's perfect for you to host your own podcast, which you already do. So it's perfect.
And it touches, yeah, as you know, like you maybe from asking questions about golf. I know you know this, Ryan, is it does open your eyes to how others view the game of golf, because not everyone
hmm
treats it the same, and that's okay. You really start to realize how vast the game is, and what it means to different people. It it's pretty powerful in that way. I don't know if you can say that about any other. You can say that about certain hobbies, but when it comes to a sport and a game, golf is kind of unique in that way, where people turn to golf for a variety of different reasons, and none of them are right, none of them are wrong. It's just what they choose to do, and it kind of calls to a lot of us.
Yeah, kind of when you're paired up with a random and you never really know what to expect, but everyone has a different perspective and a different game that they bring to the table.
For sure, for sure.
And then getting into new golf and why you're here today. I'm very interested to hear about your business. Folks that don't know about New Club, give them a quick rundown of what exactly you guys represent and what you do for your business.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's to many in American golf culture, it's a new concept. If
hmm
we were in the UK, Ryan, or over in Ireland or Wales, we would you kind of describe what we do, and people tell you the sky's blue in a way. But here it's pretty new and exciting. So New Club Golf Society, we started in 2017 in Chicago, Illinois. We're now in 2 chapters with members all around the world, ambassador members all around the world. And essentially what we are, by the definition of the USGA and the PGA of America, we are a club without real estate. So we're a private club. We just don't own a golf course. We're a vetted membership. So we actually have a open application. Anybody can apply to become a member of NewClub. But they have to make it through that process. And we ask for character references. We ask for etiquette assessment. We ask for pace of play assessment. There's a bunch of elements to our application that we take very seriously, but it's not that we take ourselves seriously, because like we said, everybody treats the game differently. The 2 things we look for in this community that we've built is a content of character, that everyone shares that high bar of having a content of character, and a passion for the game of golf. Actually, a true interest in bona fide golfers, people that choose this is the thing that they want to do with their free time. So those are the 2 things we look for. And from that, we get to do a lot of fun stuff. We get this awesome group that kindred spirits, as I like to kind of call us. And we work with a variety, because we don't own a golf course. We have to work with golf courses to make playing opportunities available for our members. So that's, to give you kind of a scale of it, we got over 300 members in Chicago. And last year alone, we worked with over 70 different golf courses and clubs. So it's a very fluid calendar of both tee times, of tournaments, of trips. We have these, what we call fixtures, society-wide fixtures that everybody's welcome to attend, but we do them attached to the seasons. So we have a spring meeting, we have a summer medal, we have a fall Founders Cup, kind of our big Ryder Cup event, and then we have our winter meeting. And so there's a little bit of travel, a lot of local golf, because we have a concentration of these chapters, and that's how our model is a little bit different and where we're going to grow. But you add it all up, and it's just a lot of good people playing the game they love, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I think that concept is really, I can't think, can appeal to a lot of people. And you talked about, being overseas in Europe and whatnot. And that's kind of where the idea, I believe, originated. So with all that explained of what your business is, how did you get inspired and want to kind of make this happen?
Yeah, it's a long story that I've told a lot, but I'll give you
Sure.
kind of the
You can give the Spark Notes.
yeah, the Spark Notes version. So I was a disillusioned college golfer, right? I kind of fell out of love with the game, lost my love of the game, and I wanted to be a college kid. Well, I played golf in my hometown, the University of Akron is where I went, and so I wanted to go far away from there. I got some Irish roots in me, and so when I stopped playing on the golf team, I didn't even take my clubs, but I went to study abroad in Ireland. Picked a place called University College Cork. Ended up getting a scholarship from Akron to be the International College Ambassador, so I could actually pay for it. And I went over there and I spent an awesome time being a college kid. Traveled around Europe, did all kinds of stupid stuff that college kids do, and it was very freeing discovery, if you will, in that time of my life. But towards the end of the first fall semester, I was trying to play hurling, which is a Gaelic sport that some listeners may be familiar with. And I was just getting the crap kicked out of me by these Irish guys. And one of the guys was on the golf club, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I heard you got a little bit of golf game. We need a player, and we're allowed to have one American." At the time in 2005, they were allowed to have one American on each team, which I thought was a funny rule.
That is
But
funny.
so I got invited out. I played with this guy Graham's club for the first time, and then I called home and I said, "Hey, I think I'm going to play a little golf while I'm over here. Can you send my clubs, Mom?" But it opened my eyes to the idea of the culture of how golf operates in Ireland, but also golf societies and these golf clubs that weren't reliant on a golf course. The courses weren't exclusive and prohibitive. They were accessible and really a shared asset that many different clubs played upon. And that just really resonated with me. It really stuck with me. Match play stuck with me. The camaraderie of both your team playing team golf, which we do a ton of at NewClub, that all started for me in Ireland playing alternate shot. I never played alternate shot growing up, not once.
Yeah.
And they did a ton of alternate shot. I was introduced to Stableford more often. I was introduced to all these other formats that just felt like more fun. Golf became fun for
Mhm.
me again. So that's really the start of it all. Where it
Mhm.
came together for me was fast forward to 2015. 10 years later, I'm a business development guy in Chicago working for different tech companies, and back fully in love with the game of golf, started looking for clubs to join, made a trip to Scotland, and I walked into a place called the New Golf Club of St. Andrews. And the membership there, the people I met, their reverence and care for the game of golf, it just brought back all those feelings that I felt when I was 20 years old in Ireland. And I sat, and you hear a lot of this at the Old Course. It's a pretty special place in the game of
Mhm.
golf, and it is for a lot of people. I sat in the top of the New Golf Club, where they have a gorgeous view of the 18th hole, the Old Course at St. Andrews, and the sun was setting, and I was having a little dram of whiskey, and I was talking to new club members, and I just said, I'm gonna start this in the U.S. I'm gonna go home. I don't know if I'm gonna quit my job, but I need this. This is
Mhm.
where I am happiest as a golfer, is this environment and with people that share my reverence, care, and love for the game of golf. And I just want that. I want it to be competitive. I want it to be fun. I want it to be inclusive. I want it to be compelling. And so that was the birth of it, man. Is
Yeah.
I left Scotland, went home, couldn't think about anything else but starting a golf society and making it my life's work. That's what it's kind of boiled down to. I'm 5 years in now, or
Mhm.
6 years in. Can't even believe that, but
Mhm.
spending a lot of hours, dreaming it up and making it happen.
That's a wonderful story, and I think a lot of people can resonate with that when even just trying to set forth a goal for themselves and make it happen. Um, so when you're going out through this process of wanting to make this happen and make it your life's work, what was it? Is there a moment you recall where you, you had this time where it was like, this can actually work, like this can actually happen, and you get the momentum going? Because even, with this just doing a podcast, I've done doing this for 5 years, took a little bit of a year off, but I always remember the first time I secured an interview with a PJ Tour player by sliding in their Instagram DMs. And I remember waking up to it and like fist pumping in my bed, like, yes, we got somebody to
Yeah.
come on the show.
Yes.
What anything that's something like that you recall that really was
Yeah.
inspiring to you?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was, we had a beta group of members. I called them beta. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't come up with anything better.
Sure, sure.
But it was 40. It was a list of 40 golfers I had met through different routes in Chicago. And one of those guys was Mark Caldwell, person I used to work with. We moved on to new different jobs by that time, but uh, couldn't have a different golf background. Like, we're both passionate golfers, but very different uh, upbringings when it came to the game of golf. And he was just a very entrepreneurial guy, a very smart guy, way smarter than I am. And
Mm-hmm.
and we got together. I wanted to ask him some advice on. He has an operations and marketing and technology background, so I knew that I wasn't a smart man, but I knew I had to get some people to give me some
Mm-hmm.
advice on that type of stuff, because without having a golf course, you better have technology. So I sat down with him at Starbucks, and he just started going into a tangent about it and telling me how brilliant this is and how life changing this is going to be for a lot of people. And I didn't tell him maybe immediately, but I knew that was my co-founder. And so when I had a really smart guy who had been successful doing other things sitting across from me at a Starbucks on North Avenue telling me, like, this is it, and me hoping that this guy would actually saddle up and be a co-founder of New Club with
Mm-hmm.
me,
Mm-hmm.
I think that was it. When he maybe that day, but also when he made the leap himself of, like, because I think we put a plan together that he was going to work out some time to give to New Club.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and shortly thereafter, I think the very next week, we got together at that same Starbucks, and he goes, "I'm going to quit my job." And he's like, and not in like 6 months. I think I'm going to quit tomorrow, because this needs to happen now. And so we both, I think it was having that person spur you along, right? Because you have the inspiration perhaps, and you have the idea perhaps, but can you do it? Like, do you have the skill set to make it happen? And I didn't. I think flat out, I didn't have a lot of the skill sets required. But between Mark and I, we make a nice team. We complement each other well. We divide and conquer. So that was I reflect on that as my big break.
Mm-hmm. And since now you guys have been through it for 5 years, and even with like COVID in 2020 and the golf industry just changing over the years, and you guys changing the golf industry with your membership format, how do you guys adapt throughout these different ebbs and flows of golf and make it work for you?
It's pretty crazy when you think about the golf industry is the years that we've been a part of it, Ryan.
Yeah.
So I was pretty hell bent on us working almost entirely with private clubs out the get go. But you got to remember what time it is. It's 2017, 2018. Clubs are frankly hemorrhaging members. A lot of places are closing, a lot of places are going public. And I just saw in front of me, well, for them, from a business standpoint, this is a no brainer. We got a vetted crew of really passionate golfers, a lot of high income earners, people that had some disposable income to spend on golf when there wasn't a lot of people out there that were, really being drawn to clubs. So I called 5 private clubs that I knew would be compelling golf courses, and all of them said yes. And I go, I think we're seeing something.
We're on to something.
Yeah. So 2018, 2019, that was kind of the story. We definitely started to work with a few public courses at that time, but then the pandemic hit. And I'll never forget, we actually had a club appreciation luncheon the day that the news about COVID hitting, U.S. shores landed. Talk about an awkward meeting. We were there with general managers, superintendents, head pros, all sitting in Oak Brook at a, lunch, and everyone's like holding, their plate real tight. Like, are we all gonna kill each other? What is this thing? And that was a weird day. But what then transpired was a lot of private clubs got busy. And a lot of private clubs changed some policies for unaccompanied guests or accompanied guests even. My home club, we didn't even allow a company play for a long time. So there was a big change in the industry. And where we sat, that means because we don't own a golf course, if we owned a golf course, cool, we're busier. Okay. But we don't. And so we were so reliant on those clubs, and we had to quickly figure it out. So it became, if we were 90-10 private to public before 2020, we were probably 50-50, maybe in 60-40 after. And the really, I think, blessing of it wasn't, if I told you it was easy, I'd be lying. It was tough. But the blessing to it showed us that golf is golf. And if it's good and it's compelling and there's a proper pace and you're playing with people that share the same interests and values and all that, if you check all those boxes, it's a good time. And so we now just, as an example, we have these monthly medal competitions at all of our favorite public courses all around Chicagoland, all around Atlanta. We do leagues. We operate leagues at some of our favorite public courses. Do we still aim to work with more private clubs? Absolutely. We think that is super important to the future of golf in this country, that there is this idea of, not a behind closed doors, behind gated community golf that has to always operate that way, that it's okay to have visitors. It's okay to have visitor rates. It's okay to welcome people in and let them, share your asset with others, share your golf course with others, not to take away from members. They don't have to give a thing, but we all know, even as busy as the industry is, there are those available times. So we'll always continue to work with private clubs, and there's so many out there that are so supportive of our mission and what we're doing, and our members, as they age, become more likely to join private clubs. So we have a ton of members that are now hosting at their private clubs as part of kind of the beautiful ecosystem that exists in the game. So it all just kind of comes together, and I think we've lived for a long time in American golf that we all have to fit a bucket, right? You either have to be a pullover clad, pleated pant private club golfer, or you got to be a hoodie wearing jogger, public
music bumping.
It doesn't have to be that way. Yes, we all have our preferences, but you don't, you just can go back to the old country to be proven that exists and it works just fine.
Yeah. And I think some of the the factors that you talked about with the private club access and originating this idea overseas. And I watch a lot of like No Laying Up stuff, and they go over to Sweden and talk about how reasonable the membership fees are for folks, or they do welcome travelers with open arms. And I feel like our clubs in America need to gain some of that, even for just folks traveling across states, just because America is so big. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm American, but I don't even live close to here. And I think that's great that you guys are kind of providing that access to people that want to get into some of those private places that most folks can't get to.
Yeah, and it's not one big core difference, and I think this gets lost in the discussion of what's overseas and what we have here.
Mm-hmm.
Population density is a factor. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of our private clubs are that way because of how many golfers live within a 20-minute radius. So if you
Mm-hmm.
go to Scotland, they're a bit more spread out. Now there's
Mm-hmm.
one place that does it exceptionally well, and they have 1 million golfers living on the footstep, and that's North Berwick. North Berwick, East Lothian, I should say more broadly. But East Lothian was fascinating to me because of the short train ride / car ride from Edinburgh, a massive international city with millions of golfers, and they still get it done. They have 15,000
Mm-hmm.
members at their clubs, and they still welcome outside play. So it's like, don't tell me it can't be done in
Mm-hmm.
Chicago.
Yeah,
Don't tell me it can't be done in Atlanta. I've seen it,
sure.
man. I know it works. So that's important, right? Is to be realistic. Because when you talk about the far flung places in Sweden, yeah, it's $700 to be a member for the year at I got a friend that's at that awesome course that No Laying Up visited, but
Yeah,
it's way
yeah.
out there, man. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
out there. And so for visitors to come, yeah, they're going to be one of 8 people that play that day, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I also have learned you got to be a realist about this stuff too, but
Yeah,
look to
yeah.
the examples where it's done well. The Sand Belt in Australia, they get it done. You know, they welcome outside guests. So it's all very doable.
Yes, and those I'm sure all those places that you've somehow made it to as well, and with New Club reaching out to so many different clubs, where have been a few places that you have really enjoyed that New Club has maybe opened a door for you? Um, I'm sure there's many to write
Man.
off, but maybe a couple top two that you've really enjoyed.
Yeah, gosh, there's top 2. I'll go. Let's think here. Do you want public, private? Any?
I think any, maybe it's just a good memory. Maybe you had a great group out there, or just a couple, or just name off a few that you've been able to enjoy a walk.
Yeah, I think it's because I talked to him this morning. But one club that uh, is in Chattanooga, and it's just a little drive for our Atlanta members. But we played a match there before our spring meeting at Sweetens Cove. Sweetens Cove is definitely on this list, by the way. That will blow your mind if you haven't been. Gets a lot of social media love, but just a really special place. But this other club was started by an architecture nut named Doug Stein, and it's called Black Creek Club, fully private club, um, template holes, and they were like template holes before they were cool. You know, like
Okay.
he
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
broadly cool, I should say. It was probably
Mm-hmm.
still cool on Golf Club Atlas or the other places, but
Mm-hmm.
prior to Fried Egg and No Laying Up, shining a light on just all the cool things in architecture. Um, Doug Stein was championing that, and he built what I like to call like the mega redans and some really big featured. I think Silva was the architect back in probably the 90s, which is building during kind of a dark time of courses,
Mm-hmm.
and they built something really fun and interesting. And they just got a new superintendent, Brent Roberson, who's an absolute stud. But I just remember playing there after some member play. It was a busy day. They still got us out there, probably 16 or 20 of us. And we had a match on that golf course. And the head pro was from Scotland, a guy named Jordan,
Cool.
just a cool dude. And Doug was there afterwards to talk to everybody and just say, what'd you think of the course? And it wasn't like, you know, I don't even know if we could have been members, like if we wanted to be, if he didn't extend that invite at the end, like if any of you are interested in membership, let me know. He didn't. He just got a lot of joy out of the fact that some people were enjoying his golf course that appreciated it and were respectable people about being there and took care of the course and, tipped the people that are working for him. And that place always stuck with me of just like a great experience.
Sure.
So yeah, that one comes to mind. And then I got to go north for the Chicago listeners. Canal Shores. It's not public or private. I mean, you can't even put Canal Shores into a category. But if you feel like you're falling out of love with golf, go visit Canal Shores. It reminds me of all the things that I've always loved about golf, kind of the constants in my golf life. And it's about community. It's about having fun. You got dogs walking out there. Sometimes there's more dogs than golfers on the course. People riding bikes, bird watchers, ecology focus. It's just a really special place. So that's my second one.
I have not been out there, but I remember seeing you post about it a bunch. I think it was on NewClub or whatnot. I'm like, I gotta get out there. This guy's so passionate about Canal Shores,
dude. And it caught me off guard. I never, I went up. I can't even remember why I went up the first time, because I remember thinking, what is this dump? Why would I, but there was some reason that got me to go. And then I meet this guy, Jason Way, who was doing all the volunteer work there and building bunkers and doing like crazy stuff. And I got involved and it became my home away from home. So yeah, I'm very passionate about that place. And you probably heard the news. They're going to get a whole renovation, knock on wood. They got a lot of fundraising to do, but it's getting its due, which will be fun.
That's exciting. And you probably played a little bit of a role in that, which is great as well. A little piece.
Don't overstate it. Yeah, no, I ripped out some buckthorn and got some friends from NewClub to go help out. There's a guy, we started something called the Artisans Club, which is kind of like a club within a club, but it's volunteers that go do remedial stuff on golf courses. And it started at Canal Shores. We're looking for an Atlanta course to do the same. But a guy named David Gilmer, he drives every weekend from Beverly to Evanston to help out there. And that's just how powerful the community is there. It's pretty sweet.
That is awesome. And you mentioned Sweden's Cove, and I saw you did the 100 hole hike, and I saw some other folks. I think Neil from No Laying Up did it with you this year as well. And I cannot imagine a marathon like that. And I feel like you would need a cause like the one that you helped raise for, the Youth on Course one, to keep you going. And I'm very interested to hear the Apple Watch or Whoop stats that you had. Like, what was that experience like, and what made you endure that long to make it happen and complete those 100 holes?
I should have had a Whoop or Apple Watch. That would be
impressive.
I didn't have one. I had my phone in the bag. I think that still picks up the mileage.
I think it does. Yeah.
Maybe I could. I'm not a stats guy. And if you're watching the Netflix show right now, Ryan, Brooks in episode 2 says, I'm not a stats guy. And then he like rambles all his stats.
Yeah.
I'm truly not a stats guy. So Whoop, things like Whoop and Apple stress me out. I don't want to see my numbers. But that day was wild because it was middle of June. There was about 50 of us trying to raise over $100,000 for Youth on Course. So I was a representative for NewClub, and the most holes I had played before that was at Bandon Dunes in their summer solstice event, 72 holes in very perfect conditions. It was like 65 degrees, wear shorts or pants. It was one of those days. This was South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, in the heart of June in the Sequatchie Valley. And the heat index was hitting triple digits. So that was interesting. So we had, luckily they were, Matt Adamski, the general manager there, was so on top of, hey, we're bumping up the start time to, I think it was 4:45 a.m., something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's
Mm-hmm.
like, the peak of this day is gonna be dangerous. We're not gonna mess around with that. And he sent that text out like the night before. So I'm laying in bed. I'm like, oh, got to set the alarm. So that was smart because we got a huge head start on it. I mean, I feel like I was watching the sunrise on my
Mm-hmm.
32nd hole or something like that.
Yeah.
And Sweetens is good for that. I will say, it's Sweetens can be very challenging or very rewarding depending on how they set it up. They set it up pretty rewarding. So it was like tee to green, really smooth transitions. He had 2 pins. You had the choice of either pin. So if you pushed one to the other pin,
Cool.
you can
Cool.
putt out there. And there's some low scores out of that 50 group. I think Joe
Mm-hmm.
Hooks was like setting
Oh
some
yeah.
crazy record, but yeah, it really was. And I'm glad the Youth on Course people were there because they kind of remind you. I mean, when the heat started to hit and you were on like hole 80, it definitely, you could see it on people's faces where it's like, oh, just keep one foot in front of the other. But the Youth on Course
Mm-hmm.
people were super energetic and super like bumping music when you made that turn from 9 to 1. And they told you the story too throughout the day of like why you're doing this, who this is going towards, who are the kids that you're helping. I was very motivated from a friend of mine, Elijah Collins, who was one of the first Youth on Course classes. He's now a professional golfer living in California.
Awesome.
He lived in Chicago for a long time. That's how he became a member of NewClub. But he never would play golf. His family didn't have the
Mm-hmm.
income to do it. So for him to get, $60 green fees for nothing allowed him to keep playing the game. He had a borrowed set of clubs, I think, from his grandfather or something. And Youth on Course, what's cool about his story and his arc, he's a professional golfer now trying to chase the dream, but he's also working for Youth on Course. So he's actually giving back
Yeah.
to the programs that he benefited
Full
from.
circle.
So yeah, playing 100 holes. I mean, I definitely will do it again. I don't know if I'll do it immediately again because I was
Mm-hmm.
hurting for
Mm-hmm.
many days after.
I
But
was gonna
it's
ask
all
how the
about,
body was feeling.
yeah, it's all about hydration, applying the right amount of powders and solves. I will say that was critical. There's a
Yeah.
few folks who will remain nameless that didn't make it because of that. But your boy Neil, Mr. Schuster, he was about, it looked like he was scaling Everest. I mean, he laid out his
Mm.
gear on the first tee. So it was so meticulous. I was like, wow, this guy has a plan. So I just followed his lead.
Yeah, I think those guys have done it before. I'm not sure how many years have they done that 100 hole walk, or was this the first
I
year?
think they started this a couple years ago. This was the first one at Sweetens, but they've done them elsewhere around the country.
Okay, elsewhere, yeah. Yeah, I think I remember seeing some Instagram stories with him having like 10 different pairs of socks and whatnot. He had the full full outfit change, like almost a pit stop for like F1. Just flip it on and keep going.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Needed. Very, very needed. The
Mm-hmm.
socks are critical. That was the most important
Yes.
part was the socks.
Yeah. So talking about NewClub, you talked about a lot about team golf and kind of those different opportunities to get the members together. Maybe, obviously, all of your events are probably going to be very important to you, but which one are you most looking forward to, or which ones do you think look most forward to and get excited about on a yearly, or maybe a
Yeah.
couple times per year basis?
I think it depends who you ask.
Yeah,
The real
everyone's
competitors are going to
different.
say that the club championship for sure.
Do you move that around, or do you try to keep it at a same course?
Right now, we do them by our chapters. So Chicago's got a club championship. Atlanta has a club championship. We're very fortunate that Mr. Kaiser has let us play at the Dunes Club for our club finals.
Very
So
nice.
our top 16, we have a stroke play event, and then the top 16, 8 and 8, 8 net, 8 gross, go to the Dunes Club for match play, which is
Cool.
just special place. That could
Yeah.
have easily been one of my answers, man. That
Mm-hmm.
so many reasons to love what they've done there, and you can see a lot of what happened there reflected in Sand Valley and reflected in Bandon and all the other Cabots places. But
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big one for the competitors. I think some of the fun ones, like I know there's members that love the honey pot in Chicago, which takes place the weekend before Thanksgiving. And the honey
Okay.
pot is a cross country. bowl of chili afterwards type event. It
Love that.
usually is like 25, $30 to sign up. We go, who cares where we go? There's usually snow on the ground. We just promised the superintendent not to, walk on any frosted greens. So but I know there's members that say that's their favorite. Like, it ends the year, it gets them outside, and it's just goofing
Especially in
around.
Chicago, it's like can almost be a cap to your year before you go into hibernation, in a sense, in the golf wise.
Yes. But here's one that I'd love to share with you, because it's very, I guess the word's innovative. Mark Caldwell, who I mentioned, he came up with this idea to engage we have an ambassador membership. So if you got listeners that are sitting in Santa Fe, New Mexico, or they're New York City, and we don't have a local chapter, you can still be a part of NewClub by being a ambassador member, is what we call it. And so we got almost 300 of those all around the world. We got some in St. Andrews. We got one guy in Kenya. It's kind of it's pretty cool how it's kind of spread. Sweet. But how do you engage those folks? Yes, they can travel to our chapters, or they can go to the fixtures and spend a few days at those bigger events. But we wanted to come up with a way to engage everybody. And so we started an event called Quest for the Crown. And what it is all of our members, all 700, 800, whatever the number is, they are part of 4-person teams. And the requirement is that you have to post at least one round per segment. So I think there's 3 segments. But as a member of that 4-person team, your minimum's posting once. I think your maximum's like 8 or something like that. Well, it's a Stableford event, and you can play on any course from any tee. You just got to tell us what it is, and we'll send you using Golf Genius. Golf Genius is our partner in all this. We'll send you the link to do your scoring. So it's honor code, which that's a big part of our golf society. We want people that have that high character and play by the rules and have honor when they do it. And you can score it, you can play alone. You can do it by yourself, or you can meet up with some other NewClub members. But it's the first, and we were talking to Golf Genius about this. One of their strategy guys gave me a call and was like, I'm pretty sure this is the word he used was like non-location based or remote digitally scored team competition we've ever seen. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So that's like just a new thing that we're doing. We're going to give away a ton of prizes for the top, I think it's 40 teams or top 60 teams. There's going to be a Quest for the Crown that continues. If after the first 2 segments, you're in the top half, you're going to be a part of the Quest for the Crown. And then if you're in the bottom half, you're in the Quest for the rest. And so we almost have like some joke gifts that we're giving away in there. There's some good stuff.
Almost like fantasy football toilet bowl in a sense.
Bingo. Like, do you want to be the winner of the Quest for the rest?
Sure.
I don't know.
Maybe. Or you want to be the loser.
Right. So that's something that's just new and different. And quite frankly, we never would have the opportunity to try something like this if it weren't for the people that got involved in NewClub. And so, a big part of what we're trying to do is push the game of golf forward by respecting the past and trying to make it more accessible for today's golfer. And I think that's a huge way, right? Because now I'm busier than I've ever been. I might not be able to play in all of our events, but I can sure get in one round to contribute to my team 3 times a year. So that's kind of where we're going with that. And I think it'll hopefully lead to some other ideas, not just for us, but for other organizations and other companies that are trying to do things in golf.
Yeah. And I think you're talking about, being innovative that's a very innovative idea, as well as just pushing the game of golf forward. I guess to finish us off here, where do you see NewClub going in the future and evolving with your membership as well as your business?
Yeah, I think more of what people have told us is of value and makes sense. So I think more chapters. Yeah, we want to be in more chapters. We're not in any hurry. We're certainly not going to be the membership for everybody. We're not just going to remove our application and all of a sudden have 20,000 members like that. That's not going to be us. But if we thoughtfully do this and continue to grow each chapter by chapter, I think that'll be our road forward. It requires a lot of patience, discipline, I think, because man, would I love to I'm in Ohio now, so I'd love to have an Ohio chapter, but I got to be
Yes.
patient. We got to do it the right
Yes.
way and make sure we take care of our local chapters as well as that ambassador program. I
Mhm.
think the second part of my answer to that question is we're going to do more of the things like that digital the quest for the crown. We're going to do
Mhm.
more innovation around. All right, well, maybe it looks a little differently, but let's test it out and see how it works. So more testing, more leaning into the stuff that works, and um, probably a few more trips overseas too, because
Yeah.
everybody loves to get back to the home of golf, and so
Mhm.
we have a friendship and partnership with the new golf club of St. Andrews now. So one thing
Awesome.
that's coming up, and I'm pretty excited about, is this pilgrimage, we call it, which the only rule to the new club pilgrimage is you can only go once, and so
Love
that's just going
that.
to make room for more people to go. We're going to offer this thing 2 to 3, 4 times a year, but it's what it's meant to do is get people to experience what I did when I was 20 years old, is go to the home of golf, see the traditions, see how the game is played, see the culture, and experience it for yourself. Because I think that'll be very motivating for more people to support New Club, to be a part of it, because they kind of see it in action. So
Mhm.
that's a few of the things on the way.
Yeah.
But
Have you ever thought, this just came to me, but have you guys explored any, simulators have exploded in popularity kind of, I think, with COVID and kind of the golf boom, and talking about the digital nature of kind of expanding. Have you guys have explored any of those avenues
we've
for your members?
we have talked to a few similar. Definitely, we partner with similar locations today.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's a few in Atlanta, even though they're blessed with many more months of golf than we are in
Yes.
Chicago.
Yes.
Uh, there's some that we have talked to, but I think you're right. I think there's something there.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that as much as I enjoy hitting a golf ball anywhere, anytime, there will never be the replacement for me of being outside, having a little
Oh
breeze in
yeah.
your face, walking on grass. And so I don't know how close it's. I mean, think about some of the virtual reality stuff that's coming our way, and how
Mm-hmm.
people say you're not going to be able to decipher between real life and a simulator. Like, how does that going to apply to golf? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just a student of it, like you are, and I'll be
Mm-hmm.
watching. But yeah, if it starts to get closer and closer to the real element of the game, I just don't want to lose um, the connection to
Yeah.
nature and being outside, because I
Sure.
feel like that's golf to me. That's really what
Yeah,
golf
the
is.
authentic nature of it.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Matt, I very much appreciate your time. I think a lot of the listeners will get a good insight into, golf business, and I think what you guys stand for, as it's super unique, and I'm excited to hopefully introduce it to a few more people and maybe get you some more members.
Hey,
That'd
why not?
always be
Sure.
good.
Yeah, check us out.
Yeah.
We're at newclub.golf. So it's not .com, it's newclub.golf. And it's New Club Golf on all social media. Give us a note.
Make sure to go follow those, and hopefully maybe we'll meet up at Canal Shore sometime when you come back and visit.
Let's do it. Yes.
Yeah, you
Yes.
can you can introduce me over there. Well, thanks again. We appreciate your time, and go low on the course.